A grumpy taxi driver is taught a lesson that changed his life. Living in a city, especially a big and highly populated one, can be really stressful. We are always counting the minutes and worried about the next big step in our lives. We also tend to focus on ourselves and our problems, hardly ever thinking about the people we pass by and the difficult situations they might be going through. But when we least accept it, we find ourselves in the right place at the right time. This is the story of a taxi driver who was angry and wanted to finish his shift as soon as possible. When he arrived to pick up his last passenger of the day, he honked the horn, but no one came out of the apartment. Minutes later, he honked again, but once more there was no reaction. He decided to get off the car and knock the door. What sounded like an old lady responded she would be out in a minute. When the door finally opened, the cab driver saw a woman in her 90s, a small suitcase beside her, and an apartment with furniture covered in sheets. There were no decorative items anywhere, and there was a box full of glassware, photos, and other things of the sort. The woman asked the driver to carry her suitcase, which he did once they were inside the car. The woman gave him an address and asked him to drive through downtown. The taxi driver told her it wasn't the quickest route, to which he replied that she was in no hurry. I'm on my way to a hospice, she added with tears in her eyes. She explained she had no family left, and according to the doctors, she didn't have very long left. The cab driver decided to shut off the meter and ask her exactly what route she had like him to take. They drove through town for nearly 2 hours. The woman showed him every place that had been of great significance in her life and shared some of her best memories with him. Other times she would just look at buildings and corners in silence. When the sun began to set, the woman said she was tired and they could now go to the hospice. As soon as they arrived, two persons came out to help the woman get out. The driver took the suitcase out of the trunk and the woman asked him how much she owed him. Nothing, replied the cab driver. The woman said he had to make a living, to which he replied there were other passengers. He then gave her a hug that she responded to with a tight embrace. Before the driver left, she thanked him for giving her a moment of joy. After leaving her at the hospice, he drove aimlessly for the rest of the day, thinking and reflecting on what had happened. He kept thinking what would have happened if he had left, or if the woman had gotten a driver that refused to drive through downtown. He then realized that this had been the most important thing he had ever done, and that the great moments are often the ones that seem small but are actually full of beauty and significance. Please subscribe and share my channel.